Lovely. Thanks so much for that. Well, thank you so much to everyone for joining on this Monday afternoon. I'm Fiona McAdoo, Senior Public Sector Transformation Director at Oracle. And yeah, really grateful that you're taking the time out of your busy day to join us for this great session this afternoon. And we've got a fantastic panel who I'll hand over to folks in a moment to introduce themselves. But just to give a sense of this is, really interesting insight and learning from the panel about Wellcome Trust migration from Unit4 over to Oracle. And without trying to give all the good stuff away in the intro, the things that we'll be touching on is really how is the Oracle platform enabling that shaping of Wellcome Trust's future finance service, what was behind the decision to move to Oracle, the tooling which sits behind that, and in particular also touching on that all important process of change management to make that go live and implementation successful. So thank you, and hopefully this will be of great use to folks. We'd really love this to be as interactive and discursive as possible, so please feel free to pop things in the chat. My colleague Elaine is going to help keep an eye on that. Any questions, reflections, and we'll do our best to bring that into the conversation. But first of all, let me introduce our fantastic panel, or more likely ask them to introduce themselves. I'll come to Richard first, and really great to get your name, your job title, Richard, and in particular your relevance to this programme.
Yeah, thanks, Fiona, and afternoon, everyone. So I'm Richard Eales. I'm Finance Transformation Director at Wellcome. I've also held a number of posts across the finance team prior to this role, but my role has been to help get this project over the line, which has been a fun experience that we'll delve into a little bit over the course of today.
The smile and the smiles from other members of the panel tells that's going to be an interesting story there. But over to you, Sherry, to introduce yourself.
Great, thanks, Fiona. So my name's Sherry Hadigan. I'm the Head of Commercial Finance, Financial Planning and Analysis. I've been at Wellcome for nearly 10 years now, and an accountant by trade as the day job. So my involvement with the project has really been from inception really through to full adoption and delivery. So from business case to vendor selection, through to the design delivery, and now on to actually living and breathing the system. So lovely to see you all. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Sherry. And Mukesh, over to you.
Thanks. My name is Mukesh Jain. I'm one of the directors with Fusion Practices. In terms of my role in this program, I was the program manager from Fusion Practices. I was closely working with Sherry, Richard, and wider team on day-to-day basis to successfully deliver this program.
Lovely. Thank you, Mukesh. And last but not least, Justin.
Afternoon, everybody. Yes, hello, my name's Justin Fume. I am a principal consultant working in the organisational development and change area of Civiteq. My background is business change and OD, something like 20 odd years. Yeah, it's been an interesting and exciting sort of challenge working with the Wellcome team. And yeah, we'll share all of that with you this afternoon. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Justin. So I'll jump straight into some questions for the panel. Please do, folks, comment. We really want to learn from your experience, hear your questions. Do pop that in the chat. But first question, I'll be coming straight back to Richard here, kind of big overarching one. What do you see as the Oracle platform offering Wellcome Trust and as part of its future finance service?
Yeah, so perhaps if I just start by giving a little flavour about Wellcome. Some of you may know Wellcome, some of you may not. Wellcome's a really amazing organisation that's doing so much good in the world. We're supporting science to tackle some of the global health challenges facing everyone. What does that mean? We fund discovery research, so someone in a lab with a great idea that might come to something in 10, 20, 30 years, but also tackling 3 key health challenge areas where we're working with governments, policymakers, industry, other philanthropies to tackle infectious diseases, climate change, particularly the impacts on health and mental health as well. Really amazing, interesting place to work. And actually what we're trying to achieve with this project is working out how the finance team can work more efficiently and more effectively in support of delivery of that amazing mission. And why did we choose Oracle? Sort of 3 key reasons, really. Firstly, to help us drive efficiency in our processes, so removing a lot of manual interventions. standardizing things to system best practice and automating integrations with other systems. So we're actually improving efficiency, saving time, but also at the same time improving the financial control environment by removing some of those manual interventions as well. Secondly, Oracle is providing us with the platform to present the right information to the right people at the right time. I would say some of that is work in progress at the moment. Now we've got the sort of platform live and we're looking at management information and how we get that out into the organization. The third point is the innovation potential of Oracle. So that actually we've got this platform that will really allow us to take advantage of future releases and functionality that's released within the Oracle Fusion Suite. And I went along to the Oracle Cloud World conference a little bit earlier this year. Really exciting to hear some of the future stuff that's coming. So that opportunity for continuous improvement really appealing for us. And all three of those things in essence are looking to enable the finance team to become a really true strategic partner to the charity and to the mission that we're trying to achieve. Freeing up time, providing that information and allowing us to provide that expert advice in terms of the things that the organisation are doing out in the world. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Richard. And if I may, just to kind of reflect back, I think that really, so much information, that crucial point you say about connecting your finance team to be that strategic partner to the organisation and delivering its mission. I just wonder if you could say a bit more about the conversations there, because we know enabling functions within organisations can sometimes feel a bit far removed from the really important mission work. And yeah, has this programme helped you connect that and for staff to feel, part of that wider organisation?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing I would just stop and say is we are knee deep in hypercare at the moment. So we have just gone live. So I would say it maybe doesn't feel like we've achieved all of this stuff yet. It is work in progress and we are really bedding down, stabilizing the system, and it will allow us in the future. So I think this is what we're trying to achieve with it. We are already seeing some efficiency gains in terms of the processes that we've got, but actually the real opportunity will be when we've got more of that management information nailed, and actually we're sort of coming up from resolving some of the natural issues that come up with going live with any system, and actually into working more closely with the organisation, because we've saved that time through some of the core processes that we've got, because we've saved that time by being able to provide that information more readily to the organisation.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Richard. And Sherry, just going to come to you with the next question, which follows on really neatly from what Richard was describing there. What is it, in your opinion, about the programme which has enabled this, to get to this really successful go live point and that user adoption from day one? And appreciating Richard's point, that grows as time and it develops. But yeah, what is it about the programme that's got you to this point today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really fortunate that the organisation has been really receptive to the change. And I think when we think of change, I'd ask you to take a moment and just think about where it starts, because I think that's really important to call out, because some people will have a different perception of where that change begins from. Some people think, oh, it's halfway through, or we need to engage people at the end. But actually, that change journey and that adoption starts from the really early on, from the use of vendor selection to the business case, and making sure that we've got representatives from all around the organisation. So defining what a user is, I think, is really key, because looking at a system on the face of it, you think it's a finance thing, it's a technical finance tool, but it touches so many within the organisation, from those that like to pay their expenses, from those budget holders that really want to understand how the organisation is moving. So everyone's got skin in the game here, essentially, and making a system that everybody sees the value of from day one is really important. And I would say Richard and I have had often a late night with the hot potato of change. We need to engage change, we need to move change. I'd say that one of my biggest learnings here is a bit of a call to arms. We don't have to do it all ourselves, and actually using people that are experts, Mukesh from Fusion, Justin from Civiteq, using our partners to make a combined project has been so fantastic to the result that we've received. The information that Justin has helped us with Change Champions, the Change Network, these are representatives from the whole organisation. So everybody goes along this change process with us and understands the benefits for them. It helps them along to see when things are coming. You know, that level of communication and tools has been really insightful and something I've learned during the process more and more. So I've been really lucky to have that level of engagement. And I'd also say that this change has made people really think about what it is they want to get from the system. Some people have even think the system does things that it doesn't even do. So we also have to curb people's enthusiasm, because suddenly they'll think it does all these things that it doesn't do either. So it's been great to kind of get people on board at all different stages, show them lots of different things that the system can do, from demos, from the sort of surgeries when things aren't going quite as we would have hoped. And it's really important that we continue to communicate and let people know what's happening, what's going well, what we can improve on, because we're on a journey here, and getting this extra information will make the system as good as it can be for us now and also for the future.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sherry. I love that. You heard it here first, the hot potato of change. I'm definitely going to be using that. I think Justin and Mukesh kind of nodding furiously there. So guys, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add about kind of from your organisation's perspective, what is it that you've kind of helped bring to the table and work in that partnership to really drive that adoption from day one?
What I would say is from the beginning, we had full support from senior leadership team at Wellcome Trust. And initially, we agreed on the design principle. One of the key design principle was to adopt rather than adapt. And we stick to that till the end of this program, or still we are aligning to that design principle. So that really helped. If we are getting any requirements which are not possible, senior leadership team supported us to make the process changes rather than make the system work as per the requirements. Team changed the processes, agreed on that, and we simplified the processes. So this was one of the key thing for the success of this program. In addition to that, I would say like involvement of process SMEs from the beginning, who understands the existing processes, the challenges which they were facing, so that whatever solution we were coming up with, they could relate to the existing processes, how it will improve the processes, how it will improve the user journey going forward. So that really helped, like involving the process SMEs or champions from the beginning of the program. So these are some of the things which really helped in the success of this program.
Lovely, thanks, Mukesh. And Justin, yeah, anything to add?
Yeah, I was. So I would sort of support really what Sherry was saying about the importance of that early engagement. And I think in any transformation program, the earlier you can engage with those impacted users, the better. And one of the things that we're really strong on in Civiteq is that user journey, and we use our model that we call the mindset model, and what that actually does is recognizes the different stages that everybody goes through in that change. We're probably all quite familiar with the change curve, and what the mindset model actually does is think about that first stage where you get the commitment to actually what the change is going to be, and working them right the way through to you've actually got that consistency. And so one of the things that we worked really closely with Wellcome on was that communication strategy and those different user groups about how we would communicate and how we would get that commitment at different stages, and recognizing that some of the teams are far more impacted than others, so that journey is different for each of the user groups and different segments as well. So really, focusing on that, where we've got light touch, making sure that the communication was appropriate, where we'd got professional users, particularly in the finance team, where they're quite heavily impacted, then really making sure that they were targeted communications and that there were the support there, and the workshops and so on and so forth with that. So just really recognizing everyone's journey is different in that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Justin. I think that loops again back to Richard's point about having that real clarity on what is it we are aiming for here, how do we want to transform, really helps that process of change, doesn't it? So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And Mukesh, I'll come to you, and we've talked quite a bit there about the user adoption and the kind of change journey. But so the question to you is, what else can organisations take from Wellcome Trust's journey of implementing the newer ERP system from your point of view?
Okay, I'll break this in 4 or 5 different areas. Like first is solution side. So Unit4 is very different from Oracle, the way it works, the data is structured very differently. Unit4 is a unified ledger versus Oracle, which is based on subledger model, means transaction level details are maintained within subledger. So all your operational reporting will be from subledgers like payables or receivables or assets. GL is mainly used for management reporting. So users should understand the difference between subledger versus unified ledger model. And this will help in data migration as well. When you are migrating the data, what data you want to take to Oracle. So like say GL balances, okay, it will not have transaction level details, or if you are migrating transactions, it goes in subledger. So you need to understand the differences between Unit4 and Oracle. And sooner we demonstrate the Oracle capabilities to users, wider user community, it will help in adoption. So that was one of the key learning we had. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we had full support from senior leadership team, which helped in simplifying the processes, adopting the modern best practices. Because what we did was we demonstrated the Oracle standard processes to users, and we kind of challenged why these standard processes cannot work for Wellcome Trust, where these are being used across the globe by a lot of organizations, why these processes cannot work. And management really helped in changing the processes, existing processes, and we implemented all the modern best practices. There was only one solution which we implemented, which is tailored, was MTD, because HMRC has this MTD compliance requirement, which we implemented. But apart from that, everything else was standard out of the box solution. Integrating with a lot of different systems. Say, for example, for grants management, you get entire grants lifecycle, finance side of it, you get out of Oracle. From accruals to liabilities, everything is available within one system rather than going to 2 or 3 different systems, which was the case earlier. Now everything is unified. In terms of data migration, because normally it is considered data migration is one-time activity, but no, it is not one-time activity, because you are doing the system integration testing, user acceptance testing, production go live. So you need to repeat that exercise multiple times. So you should try and automate the data migration, extraction, transformation, cleansing, everything should be automated so that you can repeat that process multiple times. Fusion Practices has developed a AI-based tool which you can give the instructions in normal language to transform the data, and it produces the output in Oracle acceptable format. So using that tool really helped in migrating the data, because as I mentioned, Unit4 data structure is very, very different from Oracle. The way it stores the chart of account, the way it stores the supplier master, everything you need to consider while doing the migration. And this tool really helped in repeating that migration exercise multiple times. In terms of program management, we were working as one team with different stakeholders like D&T team or IT team within Wellcome Trust, finance users or SMEs, program management team. Everybody was working as one team and coordinating with third-party teams to deliver, because there were some critical integrations which required a lot of coordination, because a lot of changes needs to be done in other systems. So having that regular catch up with the wider stakeholders helped in executing this program. So these are some of the learnings we had from this program, which can be implemented or which should be followed by other customers.
Lovely, thanks, Mukesh. I'll kind of look to Sherry and Richard if this you want to add in there, but also, if I may, there's a question from the chat which I think links to what Mukesh was just talking about there, which is saying, chance that you give top tips on how to engage stakeholders across the organisation, because what Mukesh you've just described there is you've got multiple stakeholders in multiple different departments, etc. Yeah, what would be the top tips for engaging those stakeholders, not just the primary ones that are necessarily involved in the delivery? And kind of, yeah, look to Mukesh, but also Sherry, I'm sure you'll have some thoughts on that question as well.
Yeah, so one thing is engaging with all the stakeholders early in the program when we understand that, okay, things needs to be like integrated or other systems which needs to be integrated. So engaging with those stakeholders early in the program will really help. And then as we go along the program, like whenever, because those other systems may have other priorities. So ensuring that they are working on our timelines, regular catch up or regular meetups with those stakeholders will really help. Also, documentation plays a key role, because the data contract between different systems that has to be agreed upfront, so that there are no challenges with data later on during UAT or after go live. So that has to be ensured. Sherry, you wants to add?
Sure. Just to echo your point around data, data is king here about success. Transforming the data, reviewing the data, never underestimate the challenges that data can bring, because sometimes the success or the failure of a project for delivery on time is very much dependent on data. So really reflecting your organizations and think about your capabilities and your capacity to deliver on those things, and just remember the things that you're in control of versus the things that you're not in control of, and make sure that you contract with those external parties so that you're building in enough time to make sure that the solution that you are trying to design will be designed on time, but with the best that it can be. And that's utilizing the guidance from what you learn from service design when you engage the organization more broadly to say, what is it that they would like and how they would like it? How does the data need to flow to make sure that happens? If you then transform that into, well, now I know what I would like, how do I make that happen? Mukesh and the team at Fusion, often an evening there going through different solutions. Can this be done this way? Can it be done that way? Also with the user in mind, really just trying to make the solution, the platform, to continually improve, because on day one, you will get a product, but that product will continue to improve. And that's one of the beauties that Oracle has, this continuous improvement and development. And as we look forward to AI and what that brings us, we have an opportunity to transform how finance operates for the future.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sherry. And Justin, I could see you nodding away, a sense that you might want to contribute to those points as well.
Yeah, I think I sort of, again, it's that doing the right thing early enough, and never forget sort of the end user at that. So the engagement about the technical solution, but also the engagement with the end user, and bringing them on that journey as early as possible. Just so important. Never underestimate how important communication is, and things like training, putting training together and training materials together. It all takes a lot longer than you think it's gonna. So whenever you're building out your plan and your model, make sure, top tip, make sure that you build enough time for that communication journey and that training plan, and build that in, because they will naturally take longer than you anticipate. So yeah, better to over egg it slightly than under egg it, I would say. That's the technical phrase.
I was going to say, got hot potatoes and eggs going on here. But
absolutely, if it's food, then it'll work.
Before I move on to the next question that's popped in, anything just to add to that journey, Richard?
No, I think that those are great reflections. I think I'll just kind of echo one of the points that Mukesh made, which was around sort of the teamwork. Actually, the different external partners we had, the different internal teams who were working on this, actually creating that team environment, that kind of everybody chipping in when we're in sort of points of difficulty, was really critical to kind of making this a success.
Lovely. Thanks, Richard. And a question now to direct to you, Justin. We've touched on this theme quite a bit already, but kind of, you know, from your point of view, is user adoption at the scale that Wellcome have managed here, is that usual of a program of this type?
So so that's a difficult question to sort of say, is it usual? Because I think every organisation is absolutely unique. So the important thing is it's never one size fits all, and there are some things that are quite unique about Wellcome in that you know, the expanse of their suppliers, for example. Some of the suppliers that we're dealing with are huge multi-million organisations, down to perhaps you know, a local artist that does postcards. So you know, their experience of change is going to be very different. So it's quite a difficult question to sort of answer. Was Wellcome typical? I think the thing to remember is that everything is scalable, so we scale up or we'll scale down, and depending on the number of users that are impacted. I mean, a finance team, there will be lots of similarities in a finance team from the different sort of roles that operate in finance, but from an end user perspective, that can vastly range. So I would say that yeah, it's about tailoring, scaling up or down, and being really clear on what the differentiators are, what the unique things about your organization are to make it work and make it fit.
That's helpful. And just to expand on that, if you don't mind, we've heard the kind of phrase adopt, not adapt, and that kind of, you know, that early challenge to the organization and process. And I know that's sometimes not an easy process to go through, but you've also highlighted that to tailor where necessary. I just wonder if you could say a bit more about, you know, how Wellcome have managed to balance that to get to this, you know, a really successful go live.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, it's, again, human nature is very much to kind of go, well, you know, it works the way we're doing it, and so the adopt, not adapt, is really, really important for Oracle. And one of the things that we've been really careful of doing is when we're communicating and when we're taking people through workshops, is actually explaining the why. And one of the great things about the Oracle system is that it, you know, it follows best practice financing practice. So therefore, you know, yes, you were doing it in a particular way in Wellcome and it worked for you, but it probably wasn't standard practice. So now what's happening is within Wellcome is that their accounts team and their finance teams are now doing things alongside sort of many organizations that are following that finance practice and best practice, and so they're the kind of messages that you aim to get across and explain the why. I think the why is really important.
Absolutely, thank you. And just looking to Richard and Sherry, if there's anything you wanted to add to what Justin said there before I throw you a great question that's just come in to me from the chat.
I can go next. So just on go lives, this has been, I would say, and we're not quite through it yet, quite smooth, all things considered. I know that we have, you know, as all implementations do, have significant numbers of invoices that need to be paid. We've got reports that need to go out, but people are getting paid. People are getting their reports out. So things are happening. You know, I've seen situations where that does not happen, and there are quite significant problems. So as much as it feels like there's still work to be done, sometimes we do need to take ourselves, give ourselves a second and think, actually, we've done it. You know, collectively, we've got to that place and things are happening. Yes, it can always be faster, but given our very short timeline to start off with, we have done it. And that's a big achievement. Richard.
I'm not sure I really want to add on top of that, actually. Let's go to the question.
Well, and actually, I'm going to, based on that, Sherry, I'm going to take chair's liberty and add a little bit into this question. So the question that came to me was, what's the biggest challenge you've overcome through the process? And I'm going to add something to that. It's like, what's the biggest challenge you've overcome, and what are you most proud of that you've addressed during this process? And perhaps, Sherry, we'll start with yourself and then come to Richard.
Oh, wow. Big question there. I would say that I'm most proud of and excited about the future and the evolutions that we will be able to capitalize on throughout this project. And everybody's support with the service design has really opened our eyes, not just as a finance team, but as an organization, to what possibly we could do. And I think that's probably the thing I'm the most excited and proud of, because we are building a platform that we really can take this organization forward with. And I think we started with a phrase, and it's not quite there, but we will get there. Finance at your fingertips. It's the phrase that we started with, and it's something that we have as a vision, and we're very much on that journey. So that would be, I guess, the thing I'm most proud of. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sherry. And Richard, to you.
Yeah, so it was a challenge and a proud of. Proud of, I think, is just coming back to the team that have been working on this. There's a mammoth amount of hard work and effort that's gone in from everybody who's been involved in this. If I think about the sort of finance team, we had a bunch of SMEs, process owners, heavily involved in all of the decisions that were being made. The broader finance team got involved in a whole bunch of stuff, and then out into our partners, into our digital and technology team and beyond. Actually, without that hard work, effort and commitment, when times were tough, where there was BAU stuff going on and deadlines, that commitment is really what got us to this successful go live. And I'm really proud of the extended team in achieving that. I think sort of challenges wise, we've touched a little bit on sort of some risk areas from sort of Mukesh and Sherry touching on data. I think that's a really important one. It's already been said, but I do think it's worth repeating that actually just thinking about data early, and that's twofold. One is the data migration process itself, but actually the other bit is really thinking through the structure of your data. So the chart of accounts, the nuts and bolts of actually how you're going to structure your data feeds into everything, and actually feeds into all of the reporting that you're going to be doing at the end. Any sort of statutory management tax sort of stuff, it's so critical, and it's really critical to be thinking about it kind of early enough to be able to factor that in effectively into the project. Integrations, again, we sort of touched on as well. So those are a couple of areas where we had challenges within our sort of project that we had to overcome, and we did overcome those, which is the sort of the great thing. But actually, as a lesson learned and a reflection, thinking about those things early enough would really help us.
Brilliant. Thanks, Richard. And same question to you, Mukesh, and then we'll move to Justin.
Yes, there were a few challenges, especially around data, which Richard and Sherry mentioned. So, but this data migration tool, that repetitive process really helped. And also, while working with multiple systems, you are integrating with a number of systems which are being used for years, you want to minimize the changes required in those systems, and you need to design the solution in such a way that those changes are minimal, so that integration effort or changes required in those systems, those can be managed within the time frame of this program. So that was one of the big challenge we had. In terms of things which worked really well, or which I'm proud of, is the support we got from Wellcome Trust team and for the solution. Whenever we approach the senior leadership team with any changes, or somewhere there's any disagreement, senior leadership team really supported and stick to the design principle. So that was one of the good thing I want to share.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mukesh. And Justin.
So I think the challenge is also the proudest thing from the project, and that was for various reasons. As a business integration partner, we were quite late coming into the program. So what ordinarily as a business change partner, we would have come in probably 18 months towards that go live. We had 6 months, or maybe just over. So that to sort of do that change journey in 6 months was incredibly challenging, but incredibly rewarding when we got to that go live day. And as Sherry said earlier, Richard said, it's been fairly smooth. So that's a real success, and that a lot of that is testament, as everyone has already said, about how the team worked together, how it didn't feel like we were business partners. We felt like we were one team. The support from the Wellcome senior leadership and the finance team, just amazing, and that was how we were able to do sort of 18 months worth of work in 6 months. Without that cooperation and sort of working together, it wouldn't have happened. So yeah.
Thanks, Justin. And I'm sure others on the webinar hopefully will agree. You can almost feel that energy and that sense of the teamwork coming off you guys as you're even talking. It's a real privilege to hear and to learn. And in terms of that changing, there's just another question that's come to me in the chat here, which is saying, what was the motivation for choosing Oracle guided learning as opposed to kind of other more, you might say, traditional training methods? And Justin, I don't know if I might want to pop that question to you first and then share that out amongst the group.
Yeah, so from sort of past experience, I mean, the decision to go with guided learning was made before we came on board, as you would have expected, with us sort of coming in a bit later. But one of the big things, one of the big benefits of guided learning is that the nature of Oracle is those constant updates, there's quarterly updates to keep the system fresh and moving with technology. And what Oracle guided learning does is keeps that training material and that adoption really focused, so that it's always there, it's always up to date, and it actually does then save a lot of that traditional classroom training, because we've all become sort of more familiar with training in the flow of work and learning in the flow of work. We used to be able to, Google something on YouTube and watch a quick video if we want to learn how to do something, and that's what guided learning does. It's there when you need it in the flow of work, and I'm almost certain that would have been one of the big motivators behind Wellcome actually making that decision. And we sort of obviously then supported that from a comms perspective to let people know that we weren't doing traditional training, but this is why, and this is what you were going to get instead, and selling the benefits of OGL and supporting that engagement with the tool.
Brilliant, thanks, Justin. Richard, yeah, were you going to come in there?
Yeah, I just to reflect that, and we sort of did. We're not fully taking advantage of all of the capability of Oracle guided learning yet, but we are on that pathway. I think we did end up with sort of a mixed model in terms of what we were doing. But the reason we went for Oracle guided learning was actually all of the people I spoke to who had implemented Oracle, those who had either implemented Oracle guided learning at the beginning or wished they had and came and did it later, sort of reflected that actually for those key end user processes, and really that's what we targeted. So for those ones like expenses, where actually it's touching everybody in the organization, this is a really great way, as Justin said, of putting guidance in the flow of work. As you're doing an expense claim, it's telling you the step to do. Really fantastic. So I think that for us was the reason why we went for it, and we really targeted those kind of key end user processes to have that inflow stuff. There's then a whole bunch of other functionality that we will look to take more advantage of as we go into the future in terms of sort of knowledge base and such like, but that was the key driver initially.
Brilliant, thanks, Richard. And we know that kind of in work learning, in the moment learning, it is what helps things become kind of embedded in how we do things, isn't it? So yeah, really critical. Fantastic. Well, we're drawing to the end, so I'm just going to do a quick round robin of the panel with the questions of, you shared so many kind of learnings and reflections. Thank you so much. But if you could really hone in on what was your kind of practical top tip, if you like, for people doing that migration from Unit4 to Oracle, what would you share? What is it and why is it so critical? And I will come to Richard first.
Yeah, so in terms of sort of how to make it a success, I think we've covered a lot of this already, but I do Justin's reflection of kind of compressing 18 months work into 6 months with a bit of steam coming out of his ears. I think a kind of key reflection was to be engaging with change management, whether that's sort of externally through a partner like Civiteq, or whether you have that capability in-house already, engaging with that earlier. So that I think would be my sort of key learning in terms of identifying the sort of change impact, the kind of change network, those sorts of things. We did it, but it was a bit later, and actually would have had a lot of it would have helped us to have started that thinking and that engagement earlier in the process.
Absolutely. Thanks, Richard. And Sherry, I'll come to you next.
Great, thanks, Fiona. So my reflection and learning is around sort of the team structure itself. There's multiple different models that you can set up here. We decided to second a number of SMEs into a core project team and have a number of our partners sit in-house with us. So there was a hub of activity that did the lion's share of the heavy lifting at the very sort of early on part of the project. And then we kind of broaden that out a bit more for other people to get involved on certain work streams. Now, I think what that did was it gave us a chorus of voices from all different parts of finance from around the organisation, but it also meant that not everyone was involved at every single time, which gave us a little bit more energy as a boost to get to that finishing line, because we were all taking it in turns, passing the baton over different people with different experiences. So that gave us that energy to get to the finish line, because there will be points where there will be fatigue. That is normal, that is acceptable, but it's knowing that you've got a core project team or knowing that you've got people that you can hand over to that will keep that journey going. So that would be my learning, is that it's a team sport as opposed to a one-horse race, for want of a better phrase.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sherry. And Mukesh, I'll come to you for your brief top tip, and then Justin to you as well.
Yeah, so what really worked well was the show and tell, because when a program is running for say 10 to 12 months, you need to keep the users engaged throughout this process. And when you have multiple show and tell, or where you are demonstrating end-to-end processes, users would have seen the system at least 3 to 4 times before they formally attend the training. That really helped in user adoption. So having multiple show and tell is very, very important. Also, in all those sessions, you should have the comparison between old system versus new system, the process taxonomy, how it changes from Unit4 to Oracle. So that also helps in, like, users can relate to it very easily. So these are 2 points I want to highlight here.
Lovely. Thanks, Mukesh. And Justin.
Yeah, so I would say simply be creative and communicate. Simple as that.
Fantastic. What a point to draw to a close on. Well, let me just say, thank you so much for the panel for sharing, kind of really honest, open reflections. I think that's what's most helpful for organizations thinking about how they can embark on their journey, or depending on where they are, they might already be on that process. Yeah, thank you so much. Data, early adoption, that stakeholder engagement, adopt, not adapt, but yeah, communicate and early are the 2 words that I will be definitely taking away from this conversation. So yeah, thank you so much, panel. Thank you, folk, for attending. All our details will be shared and online. And the recording of this will be available for folk to play back or to share with colleagues. So do please get in touch if any of us can be of any help on your ongoing journey, or you've got any questions for the panel. But yeah, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and your evenings when you get to it.